The PS2 was the golden age of JRPGs, but some of the best ones are completely missing from modern platforms. We're talking about games that pushed boundaries and told incredible stories. Some were less popular maybe because they were too weird or had terrible timing. I think modern audiences are starving for exactly these kinds of experimental RPGs. Here are some PS2 classics that desperately need to come back. If you could, please subscribe and ring the bell. Also, leave a like if you like the content. Valkyrie Profile 2 Silmeria is probably the most mechanically innovative RPG most people never played. Released in 2006 at the PS2's tail end, it took everything interesting about the original and cranked complexity to 11. The result felt like three genres at once: Metroidvania-style exploration, real-time tactical combat, and deep RPG progression rewarding experimentation. It was ambitious and absolutely ahead of its time. Exploration was the hook. You moved through environments like 2D platformers, but with full 3D graphics, manipulating objects, solving puzzles, and discovering secrets using Valkyrie abilities. Combat happened real-time on tactical grids where positioning and timing mattered as much as stats. The Norse mythology setting was gorgeous, voice acting strong, soundtrack pure epic fantasy. So why didn't it take off? It was too weird for its own good. Timeline placement confused original fans. The learning curve was steep, and mechanics were so unique reviews struggled explaining what the game actually was. But here's why Silmeria deserves another shot. Modern RPG fans love mechanical complexity. Look how popular Nier Automata became, mixing genres and defying categorization. Exploration mechanics, overwhelming in 2006, would feel right at home next to modern Metroidvania hits. The tactical combat was basically what people beg for in action RPGs today. Strategic depth without turn-based slowdown. Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter makes you question everything about franchises. When it dropped in 2003, longtime fans expected another traditional fantasy RPG with fishing minigames and dragon transformations. Instead, they got a post-apocalyptic nightmare that threw out nearly everything defining the series. The backlash was immediate and brutal, but here's the controversial take. Dragon Quarter might be the most interesting Breath of Fire ever made. The central mechanic was the D counter, a percentage slowly ticking up throughout gameplay. Transform into a dragon too often and you'd hit 100% for permanent game over. No continues, no second chances, complete restart required. The game actively encouraged multiple playthroughs, each run letting you carry over certain progress and unlock new story scenes. It was roguelike design principles applied to traditional JRPGs years before that became trendy. The setting was claustrophobic and oppressive. Humanity trapped underground while the surface remained poisoned and deadly. Critics and fans hated it. The D-counter felt punishing, restart mechanics seemed designed to waste time, and the dark tone completely departed from the series' usual fantasy adventure vibe. Sales were terrible, effectively killing Breath of Fire for over a decade. But Dragon Quarter was doing things modern RPGs get praised for. Meaningful consequences, innovative progression, storytelling unafraid of making players uncomfortable. Let's talk about a criminally underserved genre, mech-based strategy RPGs. Front Mission 4 and 5 represent the absolute pinnacle of tactical robot combat, and both showcase exactly why strategy fans are starving for quality content today. Front Mission 4 dropped in 2003 with a brilliant dual narrative structure. One story in Venezuela, another in Germany, with different protagonists whose conflicts gradually revealed a larger conspiracy. The mech customization was insane. Swap out arms, legs, weapons, and individual armor pieces to create machines reflecting your tactical style. Want a sniper build? Long-range weapons and light armor for mobility. Prefer close combat? Heavy armor and melee weapons with your arsenal. Front Mission 5 took everything great about 4 and somehow improved it. The problem? It never officially reached the West, leaving English fans relying on translations. The strategic depth was unmatched. Environmental destruction, advanced pilot skills, corporate warfare, and political manipulation that felt brutally realistic. Both games featured branching storylines where choices affected entire mission paths and character outcomes, not just dialogue. Here's why these deserve modern ports. Strategy RPGs have exploded recently. Fire Emblem went mainstream, XCOM proved hunger for tactical combat, and indies constantly try recapturing classic SRPG magic. But nothing matches Front Mission's combination of mech customization, political storytelling, and tactical depth. These aren't nostalgia plays. They're genuinely innovative experiences modern strategy fans would devour. Square Enix sits on these franchises while fans beg for anything Front Mission related. A remastered collection with 5 finally getting official English release would be an instant cult hit. The Wild Arms series occupies this unique space in JRPG history. Japanese RPG set in the American Old West, complete with gunslinging heroes, frontier towns, and soundtracks blending orchestral grandeur with harmonica solos. It shouldn't work, but absolutely does. The PS2 era delivered the strongest entries. Wild Arms 3, 4, 5, and Alter Code F, a complete remake of the original. Each nailed that frontier atmosphere differently, while sharing the series' signature puzzle-heavy dungeons, unique combat mechanics, and stories about hope surviving in harsh worlds. Wild Arms 3 is the fan favorite, featuring the first fully 3D world and 4 drifters preventing ancient evil from destroying their dying planet. Dungeon puzzles were brilliant, using each character's tools creatively. Wild Arms 4 introduced hex-based combat that was divisive but told a moving story about understanding one's place between technology and tradition. Wild Arms 5 returned traditional combat while adding gorgeous cel-shaded visuals that still look stunning today. Alter Code F rebuilt the original with PS2 level production values, creating the definitive version. The problem was market saturation. PS2 drowned in JRPGs, and Wild Arms' Western setting made it stand out in commercially unhelpful ways. Reviews were positive, but these never found massive audiences they deserved. Now, with Western themes having a moment, Red Dead, weird indies like West of Loathing, and JRPG fans more adventurous than ever, Wild Arms feels perfectly positioned for comeback. These offered something truly unique. JRPGs that felt like playing Sergio Leone films, complete with moral complexity and unforgettable soundtracks.
All I owe you for the journal. Sure, I'll tag along.
Years ago to justify
The Xenosaga trilogy is either the most ambitious JRPG project ever attempted or a beautiful disaster, depending who you ask. Tetsuya Takahashi envisioned a 6-episode space opera dealing with consciousness, religion, technology, and humanity itself. What we got were 3 games swinging wildly between brilliant storytelling and narrative overindulgence, with enough philosophical depth to fill college courses and gameplay changes between episodes that gave whiplash. Episode 1 launched in 2002 with movie-quality cutscenes, strategic combat rewarding timing, and story immediately throwing players into deep waters. Androids gaining consciousness, ancient artifacts, religious symbolism dense enough requiring wikis. The problem? Some cutscenes ran literal hours. Players wanting actual gameplay felt like they'd bought interactive movies. Episode 2 tried addressing criticism by streamlining everything, ending up rushed and incomplete with combat, abandoning everything people liked about the first. Episode 3 brought back original director, delivering what many consider the strongest entry, tighter pacing, better gameplay story balance, and endings actually paying off the trilogy's massive buildup. But by then, damage was done. Players had checked out, sales declined, and Namco quietly buried remaining episodes supposed to complete the full saga. Here's the thing though, Takahashi's later Xenoblade Chronicles proved massive audiences exist for his philosophical sci-fi JRPGs. Xenoblade 2 sold over 2 million, showing modern players' hunger for exactly the ambitious, weird, emotionally complex storytelling Xenosaga pioneered. The trilogy's AI, consciousness, and technological themes feel more relevant now than 20 years ago. Remastered collections balancing cutscene pacing while preserving narrative ambition could find audiences these never had. Here's an opinion you might not like. Tales of the Abyss might have the best story the Tales series ever told, yet it's the one game completely ignored by modern remasters. While Symphonia got multiple re-releases and Vesperia became a cult classic, Abyss got one 3DS port and nothing else. This is absolutely insane because Abyss tackles mature themes that most JRPGs completely avoid, like predestination versus free will, the genuine weight of responsibility, and what authentic character growth actually looks like. The protagonist Luke starts as genuinely unlikable, spoiled, selfish, and completely oblivious to the world around him. But he actually earns his character development over 60+ hours of gameplay, transforming in ways that feel organic rather than forced. The voice acting was absolutely stellar for its time. Combat hit that perfect balance between accessible and deep, and the world building was intricate without becoming overwhelming exposition dumps. So why the complete neglect from Bandai Namco? Bad timing mostly. It launched in 2006 when the PS2 was rapidly losing steam to next-gen consoles. The 3DS version was solid, but severely limited by the platform's hardware constraints. Meanwhile, Tales fans have been begging for an HD remaster for literal years. Watching inferior entries, with all due respect, get the royal treatment while this collects dust. With recent Tales games selling exceptionally well, there's clearly a hungry audience for quality JRPGs. Abyss absolutely deserves rediscovery by a completely new generation of players. Radiata Stories is what happens when developers throw every crazy idea at the wall and somehow make it stick. This 2005 Tri-Ace release was absurdly ambitious. Real-time day-night cycles where every NPC had their own schedules, over 170 recruitable party members, branching story paths, and combat blending real-time action with tactical elements. On paper, it sounds like a complete mess, but in practice, it was either the most charming RPG you'd ever experienced or an overwhelming nightmare. Critics were genuinely mixed because, honestly, how do you even review something this experimental? The dialogue was genuinely funny with great localization. The world felt alive in ways most RPGs completely ignore, and the recruitment system was absolutely addictive if you were into completionist gameplay. But it was also easy to get completely lost in all the systems. The story structure confused players expecting traditional 3-act narratives, and not everyone wanted to invest time learning its unique rhythm. Here's the thing though, Radiata Stories was doing stuff that modern RPGs get praised for constantly. Living worlds with meaningful NPC schedules, choices that actually matter to story progression, tons of optional content that feels worthwhile. It was genuinely ahead of its time, stuck on hardware that probably couldn't fully handle its ambitious scope. Today's players, especially those who love games like Persona or Yakuza for their slice-of-life elements mixed with larger narratives, would absolutely devour this kind of experience. Dragon Quest VIII was a revelation when it hit PS2 in 2005. Toriyama's iconic art style finally came alive in full 3D, creating a world that felt genuinely magical. You could see distant mountains and actually walk to them. Basic now, but mind-blowing then. The voice acting was stellar for the time. The orchestral soundtrack was gorgeous, and it proved traditional JRPGs could work beautifully without losing their soul. Critics loved it, fans devoured it, and it revived Western interest in Dragon Quest entirely. So where is it now? The 3DS version exists with extra content, but isn't the same console experience. The mobile port feels like a compromise with touch controls and simplified mechanics. Meanwhile, seemingly every other major JRPG gets the remaster treatment. Final Fantasy, Persona, even niche titles like Chrono Cross. Dragon Quest VIII on modern consoles with enhanced visuals, quality of life improvements, and maybe some of that 3DS bonus content would be an instant hit. It's perfectly accessible for newcomers, yet deep enough for veterans, featuring that classic JRPG progression loop that feels so satisfying. The world exploration, monster recruitment, and alchemy system would hook modern players immediately. It's honestly criminal that newer RPG fans can't experience this masterpiece in its full glory. This should have been ported years ago, and its absence from modern platforms makes zero business sense. Suikoden 5 landed in 2006 with terrible timing. The PS2 was winding down, and everyone was looking ahead to next gen. It also came after the previous entry disappointed fans, so trust was already shaky. The opening hours didn't help either. They're slow and heavy on political exposition that made some players bounce before things got interesting. But those who stuck around discovered arguably the best entry since the legendary Suikoden 2. The political intrigue actually pays off in satisfying ways. The 108 recruitable characters feel meaningful rather than like collecting trading cards, and the strategic army battles are genuinely engaging. The story tackles war, corruption, and family loyalty with surprising maturity, dealing with themes most JRPGs won't touch. The castle building mechanics return in full force, letting you watch your headquarters grow as you recruit more allies. Here's the kicker. Konami just released Suikoden 1 and 2 remasters that sold well enough to prove there's still serious hunger for this series. I feel fans who played those remasters are now desperate to continue the journey and see how the story evolved, but Suikoden 5 remains trapped on PS2 hardware. It's like having the first seasons of your favorite show readily available on streaming, but needing to hunt down old DVDs for the final season. With renewed interest and proven demand, this is the perfect moment for a modern remaster that could introduce new fans to the series' peak.
Savage uprising, plunging the nation.